Every second street light was off. Every other one was a greased lens starburst. The air around us was bad quality video, a view woven from Ulster flax. Switched off club doorways loomed up. Their door signs were smothered with dark looping neon tubes like nicotine-flavoured surgical pasta. In the death gargle of night, you could feel, deep in the great art museum, the electronic eyes in every room being triggered by movement in the great pitch-dark canvases, where tiny marching redcoat men were fifing their way across green burning plains. Inside great gilt frames like towering monster shopfronts, picked out by the arthritic torches of watchmen. And far over in that theme park called the Bloody Tower, that fortified Hilton on the shores of the Caspian Thames, thin prisoner souls shivered with eyes lit up like tarts' doorbells, and freezing legs that jailers had stripped naked of hosen. They were longing for the changing of the guard at Wormwood Scrubs. Corrugated, fluorescent faces on posters bandaged the tin redevelopment walls as we passed. A matted man led a matted woman, her hands feeling in empty breasts, in a sacked coat. Through a gap to the sight, wheezing, "Excuse the mess, I've got the builders in." The spice of cappuccino and Heil and Farid's sandalwood shoe inserts had abandoned us. Everywhere was the smell of boil-in-the-bag feces, boil-in-the-bag tramp. The smell of people whose lives were awful. I could tell a lie, there was none of that. There was only Willie and me taking a Quantel stroll under the diamond stars that twinkled like our chat, bouncing off the pavement in strange readings as we roved out in the direction of the night buses. Why do they say lovers look up at the stars? It's the stars look down at us. Willie was dead interesting. He really drew me a picture of his timeshare enterprise. I invented timeshare, there's millions sharing the deterrent of my body, ha ha ha. I'm also buying into some really smart interfaces, he went on, his thumb and finger biting round my trig wrist, his other hand grasping his gull-winged DeLorean briefcase, till we turned the corner onto the great tilted 18th century tray of the Sea Battle of Trafalgar Square. Sea Battle, my arse. We were roving out through a bloody great corporation baths of marble blocks, sickly from the add-on of a million verrucas. All those foreign pigeons were sleeping now, so the mousy mice the Brits could play with their stolen echoes of squeaks and pig squeals rippling in the flood writing up the great pillars and clocks. Operations speeding past, while fountains poured with a sound filched from tearing cloth, and the checked hat of a slain policewoman was punted down the pavement by Libyans. A tall black man with a long cannon neck and a big crocheted beefeater's cap brushed past Willie's buttock hard, and I wondered, would Willie take an Angolan carving off him? But Willie seemed not to notice. "It's as well no one knows you've diamonds on you," says I above the din. For I was a mite scundered to catch Willie's eye, for this view was my slobbering racist vision of the English. A couple of thousand pale people doing a celebration lap in beige swimming togs on the ruse of their own fair play, trotting on marbled thighs as thick as dolphins, chicken wings, shoulder blades, chip-shot teats, paperwork humps, curly crotches boiled for understains, buttocks tattooed with the great laconic English wit. And their every quivering white stretch mark was a mouth asking, "How do you mean?" and me whispering back, "I'm in your midst." Around this central processing unit of scrawny gristle, in an everlasting square, moved cubed collections of dim yellow windows. This was the night buses, trailing their colours like someone was wiping a green electronic cloth over them to swipe up their wake of light. Like they were battleships pushed across a table by 40s girls with long sticks. Or else were these girls personal assistants who slipped an assessment form, coloured bathroom mauve, into the wang to read the layered strategy of flashing flintlocks via the urgent binary of their nicey-nice obsessions with crow's feet, panty lines, chipped nail extensions, slight odours, all London weighted against tie pattern, curry strength, car make, bum size, lovely shoulder size, aftershave carvery manners, lovely knickers bought in the railway station shop just before I exploded its clanking plate glass. And why the sudden VE Day celebration they were having that sounded like a printout of my death warrant? Why this livid bruise of local colour just before dawn? Facts and digits and Brits were racing past me in a stampede. These lovers of the oppressed, executioners of the rest, now slowing to the chug, chug, chug of a conga line full of gaiety and celebration, full of Africans, globe lights and green absinthe. A conga line twisting into the future like the writhing fuse of a very tall story. A great advance VE Day celebration for some damage I wasn't cute enough to foretell. Some last laugh they'd been having over me. Onward the conga stretched, dancing through the masterful architecture of the trenches, ordering their armour down narrow lanes. And now, here, after, the camp followers dressed in beige, olive, black, in the toll of exhaustion and the drag of logistics, camouflaging more and more of their Congo jubilance, slowly, imperceptibly miniaturising it into the long silence of one waiting bus queue. A queue now slumped against the Greek museum pillars with floodlit chins. Just ordinary people waiting on a bus. Aye, that was the joke about the English. They thought they were ordinary people waiting on a bus. Ha 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 ha. The trouble was, they got Israeli tank commanders believing them. Commanders wiping the loving like shit off their hands to cling on to the English bus, even when the shite made them a better offer. See, being a hypnopatsy, the problem is you forget you've amnesia. And that's when you know love is only as powerful as the hurt that went before it. Come on, get stuck into me. I flung open my arms to Willie, and then Adham and Hawa had the world's first kiss. His strong body zinged like a tuning fork with the smell of airline fresh wipes. If you like this, do you want to try putting your finger up a woman sometime? I says. The visor of his lips, or mine, were made of soft pink burger, not firm and tender like his steel cuffs had been. And I wondered, why do real people kiss through their pink lips and not through their tender hands instead? I don't get much sleep at night, says he. I guess I've studied too much karate. I've taken a pied-à-terre at Paddington Green. We could go there, lock the door, cut the food, and just talk for days. I mean, are those guys seriously expecting you back? Well, you know when you're sliming your way down life's lonely ditch and something slithers up to take your Dutch cap by the hand? Or you could show me your hideaway, he says quickly. Kilburn, is it? What do you have? A lock-up or a weekly rental? Ugh, how could I bring a guy of his class to my cell? Walls, marble textures with handfuls of excrement, an ice-filled mattress, a sign beside it. Stroke a weak finger on this contact pad if you're near to death. Stroke my spine, curved like Regent Street. Stroke Regent Street, curved like a hunger striker's backbone. I am the hideaway. Do you not get that? I drift like a fart. Then why are we in this bus queue? Yahweh might remind me where I live. Yahweh? You're a lapsed Catholic. You don't lapse to a bloody yogi, do you? What does a Teg lapse to but a Jew? The opal plane of his face glowed hydrophobic among the underlit chins and pillars. If he tilted it just a wee bit more, his flat silicon would wink with a million wars. Then as I winked that I was an old slut of a sparkling West End musical in its 15th glorious year. Then quick as a wink, he'd never winked at all, but he was kissing me with all the passion in his bone box, like I was his wee orphan, his daughter, the Irishman in the dock, like he was playing for time. The diamonds in his pocket bit agony into my breast. His mouth took me deep in its arms and said, "Yours indeed are the luscious lips of the hypnopatsy. Let me interrogate them." "Someone has obviously damaged you very deeply," said he. "I sense a wounded, inarticulate love," said he. "Because I'm a winner. Because you love me and you kick the English arse, not vice versa. Because you're taking me off to your timeshare country called Van Diamond Land. Because you're gonna steal me a visa for there." And I leapt up like a trout and nipped his throat, all sexy under the streetlight. He loomed there, a dark skittle with sparkling cuffs. "Of course, every frontier involves its own cold swim. We make it hard for you to enter, so it's easy for you to say you care. Before I can get your visa, I need you to obtain me a few items. So I have to ask you now, how much do you care?" Care? Well, I cared so much I couldn't care at all. "I'd do anything." "Anything?" "Anything you can call a tragic blunder later." He laughed and fondled my jaw. "We have all the rest of our lives to make those mistakes together. Now listen. Do you listen? Tomorrow I'm going to walk back into your cheap cafe to drag you away in your soiled innocence. You get ready this list of things I'll tell you. How's your memory? Perfect. Don't fail, you hear? Immigration won't like that." So he got me repeating and repeating the list, his big intense face reeling. Claustrophobic? I was a weapon trigger in a shipment shed, choking in a bed of foam pebbles. "Now," he said, when I could say that list backward, "you be ready, and you be waiting. And I'll be out of here." Then he kissed his little orphan very tenderly, and she hailed him a taxi. An early morning jet burped overhead, gorging on people and pathways. But still he couldn't stop his voice from asking, "You can't come now instead?" I studied my nails. "I cannot bother. Go you on ahead, sure, and I'll follow you." £5 before you put your toe in." The false black taxi revved like a bull pawing the ground. And then, as Willie got in the back, what do you think came bowling round the corner but that old bald BMX tyre and slowly bumped into the taxi after him? Could you get over that? I stood for hours waving up the street my Willie'd vanished down. I was coming up to 5 o'clock. I was turning away when suddenly the birds of dawn began to trickle. The rushing fountain slowed to a cool liquid flow, and light began to touch the limestone minarets of the great hardware walls around me. Dawn had aped a car crash, and I seemed to be staring out through its windscreen, fractured like an Art Deco sunburst. Above me, I saw the pigment eyes of God. God, not one of the generals on the blustering hill with the walrus moustache, but the face looking down through the screen at me was Indian. Gently sad eyes, dark-circled, a crimpling shirt, infinitely kind, infinitely wise. God, the late-night Loughborough IT son of an Indian shopkeeper. Great, gentle, depressed, puzzled face, dazzled into an infinity beyond the high-speed burst of gold sun lashing down on all the white, laminated, assemble-yourself wardrobes that rose as buildings all around me. Gold, burning onto gilt minaret doorknobs and bedpost spires and boxes of snow-white plaster mix that were buildings. turning us into some hijacked holy city, or a DIY shrine for cheeky Tottenham chippies. And true, I'd have to dash about today. I'd a list to get ready. That stuff would not be easy to get. But I could still be in time to catch that book signing in blood that Handy'd warned the police of at Collett's bookshop. As a bespoke hypnopatsy, soon to be a world-class refugee, I was sure to be welcome. Meanwhile, I'd walk into the sunrise getting smaller and smaller like a fetus dehydrated by jet lag. And as I got smaller, I met a tiny, doubtful voice coming your direction. Could you fancy a man who gets on like a Rhodesian policeman? No great mercenary soldier arranges my life for the better. And with that, the words sprang into my mind of Zeev in the caff, who till 10 minutes ago I thought I'd never see again. My friend Willie, he is obsessed with inferior tactics. But the greatest soldier in the world can never beat one wee girl with one wee parcel, so they call her a coward. But like romance was far from dead, I was reasonably optimistic that someday my trigger would come. Over by the Abbey, the large green numbers on Big Ben's face boxed their digital shapes anew to semaphore the muezzin's wake-up call. I crooned the 99 names of God as I jauntered off through the full light, off toward the busiest, happiest morn of my little life.